12.2. Yeah. I think that's okay, Mr. Mayor, you're good.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Tuesday, February 4th, 2025 council meeting at 6:30. We'll start with the disclosure of pecuniary interest. Moving on from there, I would like to welcome Atlanta Dale and Tim McBride from Pension, and thank you for doing this presentation for us this evening.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I really appreciate having the opportunity for Alana and I to present our work to the council, and you guys giving us this time. I know you guys are really busy this time of year, so we'll start to work our way through it. If at any point in time you have questions, you can feel free to interrupt us if you'd rather do it that way, or if you want to hold all your questions to the end, we're open to whatever works best for you and your council. So with that, we could get started. Alana, do you have control?
Yeah, can you see my presentation screen?
I can, yes.
Okay.
Wonderful. All right. Thanks, everybody. So yeah, we're going to talk today about the results of the 2024 monitoring programs for both sites. And then I think one of the topics that everybody's interested in as well is, what's our longer term strategy with respect to waste management in the community. So we have a couple of pieces of the puzzle there that I hope are clear once we go through the presentation. I know they're clear to us, but when you're as involved in the day-to-day as Alana and I are, sometimes you take for granted. So like I said, if you have any questions or if there's anything that you need clarification on, please don't hesitate to ask. So Alana, if you want to proceed to the next slide. So myself, I'm Tim McBride. I'm the practice specialist for hydrogeology. I'm the director of Northern Ontario. I'm also the director for nationally for landfill and municipal services. So unlike some engineering firms, I spend a lot of my time working on landfills and asset retirement obligations and design components, that sort of thing. My counterpart, Alana, is probably even more heavily landfill based than I am in her career. I would say probably 90% of her time is spent on landfill related waste management type issues. So she's very well versed in annual monitoring, lots of the regulatory requirements and regulatory changes that are happening. And yeah, just a wealth of knowledge. So probably if you ask any questions, I'll defer to her. Anyways, next, Alana.
So this is our agenda for our presentation tonight. We're going to start with a review of the Wolf Lake landfill site and included the 2024 annual monitoring results as well as the updated capacity results. Then we'll move on to the Bear Creek waste disposal site and talk about the monitoring and capacity results for this year. And then Tim will speak about the expansion process that we're currently working on for the Bear Creek site. So the Wolf Lake waste disposal site, the current monitoring network at that site consists of 10 groundwater monitoring wells, which are positioned all around the site and mostly in the down gradient direction to the north of the fill area. And there also are 3 surface water locations that are currently monitored from up gradient to down gradient of the site. So the monitoring results from 2024 indicated some impacts near the site fill area, which is to be expected. But the impacts appear to attenuate to lower concentrations with distance from the site. And there's still some lands available down gradient of the wells for the impacts to attenuate further prior to reaching the property boundary. So overall, there's no significant concerns that we noticed at this site. So we're recommending to just continue with the current monitoring program for groundwater, surface water, and the landfill gas during the spring and fall of this year, 2025. And we recommend the regular annual topographic surveys of the site should also continue to be completed each fall to update the site capacity. So we did do a survey in 2024 to evaluate the updated site capacity. So the current permitted volume for the Wolf Lake site is 54,770 cubic meters of waste. Last year, it was estimated that we had about 39,000 cubes remaining. So based on the survey this year compared to last year, an additional 1,360 cubic meters of waste was placed at the site. So the capacity remaining is now approximately 37,645 cubic meters. So based on a 3-year average fill rate, the remaining lifespan is estimated to be approximately 16.7 years as of that survey completed last October. So the lifespan, we would expect that the lifespan would decrease each year as you eat into the volume of the landfill, but we actually saw the lifespan estimate increase this year compared to the projected lifespan last year. So it's our understanding that the township has increased their compaction efforts significantly in the last year and a half, implementing a compactor at both of the landfill sites. So I think this has contributed to the increased lifespan for both of the sites. So for the Bear Creek waste disposal site, the current monitoring network at this site includes 6 groundwater wells, mostly to the east of the site in the down gradient direction, and 6 surface water locations. So based on the 2024 results, we did not identify any significant impacts at this site. There are a couple of impacts for TDS and iron that we noticed in the furthest down gradient wells, but those wells are located in a ponded area, so it was interpreted that the impacts might be related to some surface water influence, so not just related to the landfill. So no like significant concerns here either. So we're recommending to continue with the groundwater, surface water, and landfill gas monitoring in the spring and fall of next year as well, or this year as well, and the regular topographic survey in the fall. Based on the survey that we did last year, the remaining site capacity estimate was updated. So this site's currently approved for 40,000 cubic meters. And last year we had about 11,208 cubic meters left. It was estimated that approximately 490 cubic meters of waste was placed since that time. So the remaining capacity as of 2024 was 10,718 cubic meters. And based on the average annual fill rate for this site, we estimate the remaining lifespan to be 7 years. And we noticed a increase in the projected lifespan for this site as well, similar to as discussed for Wolf Lake, which we're attributing to the implementation of the compactor at both of the landfill sites.
Excellent. Alana, can you go back one slide just for a minute? I'm going to take a second just to jump on my soapbox.
Sure.
So yeah, so one thing I do want to point about Alana's data here is we always run a couple years as far as our average annual fill rate. So she has included this, you know, the difference in the surveys between 2022, 2023, 2024. And that's how we come up with this average annual fill rate. But even with, so you can see that the rate she's got here highlighted in bold black, like with the compactive effort that's been applied to the site, instead of eating up 1,500 cubic meters a year, now we're only eating up 500 cubic meters a year. So if next year's survey does indeed show that that compactive effort shows that we're only eating up 500 cubic meters a year, we're going to be able to change that average fill rate. And again, that'll alter, you know, essentially all you do is you divide that average fill rate into your remaining capacity and you come up with a number of years. So yeah, if it was closer to 500 and we have 10,000 cubes left, you've got 20 years left in this site, right? So it's really important. And I think that, you know, I think that was a great investment to enhance our compactive effort on the sites, because it really does seem, at least in year one, that there's been a positive there. And I'm so proud that you guys are, you know, treating these sites as assets like we talked about previously, and we're really looking at maximizing the lifespan of these assets. So kudos to you guys on making those decisions and actually implementing it and doing a great compactive effort. So hopefully, again, we'll see that next year, and we can continue to monitor that and see if, you know, the lifespans continue to grow based on the fact that we have that there. So Alana, let's continue on. So the other thing we were engaged to do was talk about Bear Creek expansion opportunities. So one of the things we have to do and we have to know is, like, is the site currently in a good condition, right? So all this work that Alana's just talked about water quality issues and stuff like that shows that the site is operating as designed. If it wasn't, if we had all kinds of weird parameters that were failing, you know, the regulations, obviously the ministry would not be willing to even entertain any kind of expansion. But given that we have positive results and a defensible database, and we have a good idea of how much waste you guys bring in year by year, we can kind of get our head around what it is we're asking for, and you know, how are we going to make that work. So right now your site is limited by two things. It has an approval volume of 40,000 cubic meters. It also has a limit on its footprint. So right now the approved footprint, even though you guys own tons and tons of land out there, the landfill component of itself can only be 1.1 hectares. So the other thing is, without triggering a full provincial level EA and other things, we're limited as to how far we can expand the site. So we can only expand the site up to 80,000 maximum. So what Alana and I, you know, have done now is with that knowledge and with the background data that she described earlier, is kind of figure out, you know, how could we make this fit? Can we even make it fit? So our first step was to evaluate some potential expansion areas and get a thought in our mind as to what this would look like, so that when we start discussions with the ministry, it's not just all hypothetical. We actually have a concept in mind. So things that we consider with that is, you know, distance to sensitive receptors and the adjacent wetlands and, you know, residential areas and that sort of thing. Just because you currently have a landfill there doesn't mean you get to do anything you want, right? Like, so we still need to follow setbacks and stuff like that, and prove to the ministry and, you know, the surrounding property owners that what we're proposing to do is not going to be detrimental. So we've done a lot of mapping I think Alana's trying to show some of our products here. So we've done a lot of mapping with respect to adjacent land uses, and like how the current landfill fits within the site boundaries and that sort of thing. And then we have some, proposed asks for when we move forward. So Alana, go ahead. Sorry. So yeah, the one thing that we'll have to do is kind of figure out what we want to ask for. So what we call it a project description. And what we've done here, and I apologize, it's not the best figure that we've ever produced here, but I think you can get the general idea. Right now, there's a black, Alana, maybe you can do your cursor trick for me. There's a black dash line that identifies the 1.1 hectares that's currently approved. What we would propose is to extend the boundaries of the landfill to the north, to the west, and to the south. We don't want to go to the east any further because as we move to the east, we kind of get to that wet low-lying area that Alana was talking about where the wells are. And it starts to, even though we have lots and lots of room, it does start to encroach on our towards the wetland and the downstream receiving environment. So we're going to kind of work away from that. And what we'd like to do, again, is present this as 3 separate phases or areas to the ministry. And then, if they had issue with 1 or 2 of the areas, like it's not just a straight up ask and say, hey, can we just expand it? Like we want to show them this is how we want to do it. And if they have a problem with one of the areas, maybe we carve that out. But this would probably be our initial ask is to change this shape to be something more like this. That way we can still honor the setbacks from your property lines. You'll notice the distance from the black dash line that Alana had originally shown there to the property line to the north, which is the red line. We're not changing that distance. We're going to run parallel to that line, so we still honor that separation between the lot line and the proposed waste footprint. So then once we have that, the other piece of the puzzle, and again, you guys have done a great job starting to put all this information together, is the ministry doesn't like when people come to them and say, hey, can we have an expansion for our landfill? And they grant it. And then like 5 years later, you have to go back and ask for another expansion. So what they want to know is, with what you're proposing here, Tim, how many years are we going to get? So now that we have a better handle on the waste capacity and your annual waste deposition rates, we can kind of forecast, like, if with this ask and this additional area we're asking for and the additional volume we're asking for, how many years would that equate to for us? So this one gets a little more complex because with the expansion of Bear Creek, we could potentially outlive your other site, right? So you may become a time way in the future that maybe all the waste from the community goes into just this one site. So we have to factor that into it. But like what we like to try and aim for is a 30-year site life. That's what the ministry seems to be willing to extend themselves to. So what we're going to try and do is see if we can get that 30-year site life out of this. And if not, at least get us up to that 80,000 cubic meters. Next, Alana. Yeah, so our next steps, now that we kind of have an idea of what this is going to look like, is we would start down the MECP consultation phase, and that is just to show them what our plan is, show them what our idea is, get them on board, make sure that we're all in agreement of what the next steps are and what they want to see to support the application. Then Alana and her team would start into preparation of the technical documents. They would want to see a design and operation plan. Like, how is it that you're going to fill these new cells, and how are you going to manage your asset, and how are you going to work through it? They might want to see an enhanced hydrogeological assessment. some of the areas that haven't been disturbed. They might want to make sure we do a species at risk survey. Like there's other pieces of it we might have to check off, and we won't know that until we discuss that with them. There will be a consultation with neighboring properties that has to be completed as well as part of that process. And lastly, they'll want to know what the end of life use is. I would assume that we just would like this to be a landfill, and it would remain a closed landfill, and we would never ever do anything else with it. But yeah, there'd have to be a conceptual closure strategy as well prepared, and we could probably fold that into the D&O plan if they would accept it that way. Or sometimes Alana's been successful in deferring that, and we put that in as a condition of the license that within 2 years of reaching closure, we would prepare a plan of what is our plan for it. But in reality, if you do that closure strategy earlier, it helps with all the other pieces. Again, like if Alana knows what we're going to do for closure when we do the asset retirement, that concept feeds into the financial liability, right? So we can help with that. And the other piece of it is if we do a design and operations plan that allows us to progressively close the landfill, we could always write down your liabilities as we move forward through time. So it's not all one big chunk at the end. So lastly is the environmental compliance approval application submission. So once we're back and forth with the ministry quite a bit, both the local office, the Toronto branch, and of course the technical specialists, groundwater, surface water, waste, etc. Once we have all their input and we have everything lined up the way they want it, then we do the ECA application, and that would be your new license for this newly expanded landfill. And then there'd be conditions on how you operate it, and maybe you need to have, because it'll be a bigger site at that point in time, you may have additional requirements. You might not be doing spring and fall sampling anymore as per the current license. They might want to see spring, summer, and fall. So just to bring it to everyone's attention, like once you open the ECA, and there's always the chance that things will change and things will get more stringent. But again, I think with the changes we've seen in the operation of the landfill to date and the way you guys are running things, I don't anticipate that would be an issue aside from the additional effort that's required to do it. So I think that was the end of it, Alana. I don't think we had anything beyond that one. No. So yeah, so if there's any questions, I'm happy to circle back to any point of the presentation.
Okay, thank you. We do have a couple questions. Councillor Kirky.
So based on these numbers, and you're looking at an expansion of an additional 40,000 cubic meters, am I correct?
Correct.
So that plus the, based on the 490 cubic meters, and I'm just going to round that off to 500 because there will be expansion or more stuff going into it over the years, I'm sure. An increased volume, slowly increased volume. So based on that, what you're saying is if we get that 40,000 cubic meter expansion plus the added on to the current 10,718 cubic meters, you're saying we could expand that site for 95 years?
Close. At that point in time, we would probably outlive the life of Wolf, and the volume that goes into Wolf would probably have to go into Bear, right? So it would eat it up a little bit faster than that. But yeah, there is the potential of that. Like I said, though, the ministry doesn't like to give us approval for sites that go beyond a 30-year lifespan.
Well,
So
I understand that.
Yeah.
So this this falls well within, my concern here is looking at my numbers here, my concern is that we're well within, we're very comfortable saying we have a 30-year expansion. Am I correct here?
No, we'd be beyond a 30-year expansion. So I think we move forward with the full ask for all three areas that I showed you guys, the little blue triangles.
Yes.
And maybe what we can do is even if we just phase that and we say, okay, our first 30 years is going to be, the triangle to the north, and then the next 30 years would be the triangle to the west, and whatever's left would be to the south. And it may be that they want to phase the approvals, but and they'll tell us that. Like if they're not comfortable in saying, okay, yeah, we're going to give you something that could accommodate 90 years, they might say, Tim and Alana, you need to thin out this design and cut it back to something that's only going to be 30 years.
Okay, so, okay, I'm getting a better understanding of it there now. So we do a phased expansion. So basically start with, I'm gonna say the green would be the first, then the blue, then the orange.
No, I believe the blue is the total expansion.
Alana, can you go back to the thing? Yeah. So
Sorry, the green is just the current active area.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, we'd probably go to area 1. Yeah, we go to area 1 first, and then we go to area 2, and then we go to area 3.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
The blues would, how they would expand it.
Yeah.
That would be our
Well, this is
maximum.
area 1 here.
Yeah, the red lines and the orange lines are,
Okay,
So Tim, if we're granted this expansion, I know it's gonna take some time, but if we are granted this, would we not be wise to start the process with Wolf Lake?
That was ours. That was what we were
Yeah.
planning to do, is once we got through Bear Creek expansion,
Move
moving
on.
forward with the Wolf Lake expansion, so we had everything in place.
Yeah.
And I think when we talked to Tim that we were gonna go like the full expansion on.
That's
Wolf
right,
Lake.
it's
So,
huge property.
Yeah, so it'll be a bigger process.
That's right. Well, and it'll take longer, but if
Yes.
Yes.
we have this time and we can do that before the 16 years is up, we would be set for generations.
Correct.
Yeah,
And that's the goal.
yeah.
Yeah. So the other thing too is like landfill engineering has really, really changed, right? So what we've got away with in the past, I shouldn't say got away with, what was approved by the ministry in the past may not be what's approved going forward. Like for now, we clear the trees out, we make sure there's a fire break, we, generally get rid of the organic matter, and then we start our waste deposition right on the ground. They may not allow us to do that. They may want to put a liner down. Right? So again, we won't know that until we get into the design phase with them. And that's why it's really, really important to engage them early on, because if Alana goes off and squirrels away and comes up with this dream of hers, and then we come back and, we've presented to you guys, what it's going to cost to build this, and we put all our eggs in this basket. And then they say, oh, by the way, we'd really like to see you prep a liner before you start anything. That could drive the price through the roof. So that could have huge implications on what we want to do too. So, so I want to bring the ministry along with us, every step of the way where they're willing to contribute. See if we can get their buy-in as early as possible on certain aspects. My experience has been that that's the best way to go about this. And then, from there, that'll probably make some decisions or help us make some decisions as well as to how big we want to get and that sort of thing.
Out of the 444 municipalities in Ontario, how many of their landfills are at 10 years? Do you know offhand, or within 10 or 15 years of closing?
I don't know the exact number, but I can tell you that Alana, how many monitoring programs do you do a year? Are we in the 60s or 70s?
60 sites. Yeah.
Yeah, so Alana and I probably do, somewhere between 60 and 70 municipalities across Ontario, and um, the recent push to do asset retirement obligation calculations for landfills and landfill liability has really opened a lot of people's eyes as to the lifespan. And yeah, to answer your question, I would say half of the sites that we're working on are 10 years or less.
Thank you.
And are any making progress like we are?
Yeah, we have a couple of sites. Alana, I'm not sure actually where we are in the one. We had one question come back from the Ministry of the Environment. They wanted to see an updated survey, and that's been submitted now. So that was the only outstanding thing. So I think that was a 40,000 cubic meter expansion. Um, and then we're doing something similar up the highway too, way up the highway in Hearst. But looks like it's going to go through a full EA process because they're asking for a considerable ask, not 40,000 cubic meters. I think they're asking for close to 200,000. So they're getting themselves ready for a long road there because of all the work that has to be done with baseline assessments for turtles and bats and all that stuff. So
Any more questions?
I have nothing.
Well, on behalf of staff and council, we thank you very much. That was a well-done presentation.
okay. Thank you very much. Like I said, I really enjoy having the opportunity to work with your community and your staff, by the way. I get nice prompt responses, and there's lots of great interaction back and forth. So thanks for that as well. I assume I'll be seeing you again sometime soon when we present the asset retirement obligation report sometime this quarter, Alana?
Yeah, we haven't completed the report yet, but we will this quarter.
Yeah, so I'm sure I'll talk to you guys again. So thanks for your time, and like I said, I really appreciate the opportunity to serve your community, and look forward to the next step in this process. So,
Oh, thank you very much.
okay, all right. Well, have a good evening.
You as well.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Oh, goodness.
Yes, it is.
Yay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Way to start the new year.
It is a good way to start the year like that, for sure.
He went to that, here, you've only got 4 years left. It was a little bit of a panic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sleepless nights.
Okay, moving on to item 3, committee reports. Councillor Foot.
I do. We had rec committee last night, which was awesome. We did landfill bottle pickup. We gained $351.90 from it. It's usually quiet this time of the year, so we kind of get it. Chair yoga. So we've got a great chair yoga program going on, and we've opened it up for another 10 weeks. But the ladies brought in $171.35 that'll be donated to food banks, and 87 pounds of food, which is fantastic. Such a good news story. They've got the average attendance every week at about 16, which is really kind of nice. It's cool, right? So again, we're going with another 10-week program with them. Winter cards, we haven't had any participation yet for winter cards, and hopefully with letters going out, we might be able to change that. And really as a committee, we're talking it up anywhere we can talk to people. Let's try and let them know we're here. Come in and chat and have some fun and play some cards. Family Day is coming. Fireworks, hot chocolate, marshmallows, a little bit of everything. Thank you to Councillor Scott. He's supplying the firewood, and the pits. He's helping us out there. And the ice looks fantastic, I hear. So we're a little excited about that. We'll have that all going, and we're working on sourcing the hot chocolate and the marshmallows locally. So it's good. A spaghetti dinner is right around the corner, so we did some planning for that. I don't think we're really gonna do any big changes for spaghetti dinner. Pricing is gonna stay the same. Change the garlic bread up a little bit, and we're gonna try and source a couple of baskets out from local merchants and see what we can come up with and have some fun with it. Last year we had about 70 plus people and kids, so it'll be fun. We'll have some good time with that. We did propose a date change, and we changed the trivia night date, and that's gonna move till April 5th. And Kristen's gonna work her magic with those questions and everything else. Welcome back to trivia. And I think we kind of put it out there that says, are we putting in a table again? So it was kind of fun. Not a trivia girl, but it was a lot of fun, right? Pre-registration starts on March 3rd. So she got rooms for about 12 tables of 6 and 9 tables of 4. Did I do that right? Yeah. So bring your own snacks. So as a table, bring your own snacks, have some fun, bring your pizza, whatever you choose to bring, and let's have some fun with it. And then Commanda community update. They've got a lot going on at the community center. They're working on raising funds for the building maintenance. They've got Thursday yoga going on and jam night the first Saturday of every month. So there's lots going on there too, right? I think there's so much going on in the community. It's fun to be part of this committee. And next meeting is March 3rd. Did I miss anything?
No, I think you pretty much got it.
Yay. Thank you. Fun. You're welcome.
Councillor Chalatenko, I take it all that time.
I think you did. Cards are this week, though,
Yeah. Okay,
just a reminder.
good. Thank you very much.
I haven't had any report this week.
Okay, Councillor Burke.
Yes, I have one. I have Police Services Board. We met on January the 27th, and we got the report from Inspector McMullen. There were no increases in crime this quarter. What they did is they got a dedicated officer for bail reform and warrants. They've issued 200 plus warrants. They also have a dedicated officer now for traffic enforcement, and they do the stats and decide where the traffic stops are going to be based on the performance of that area. They also have, they have put together a mobile crisis response for mental health with a full-time nurse who will be driving along with a dedicated officer who also does crisis response. And it's been working out very well. So they have also got one more crisis nurse who will travel with different officers throughout the area on their watch. So we'll basically have one dedicated crisis response officer and 2 crisis response nurses. This will, for the mental health side of it, so that we're not using policing methods on a mental health crisis. We're using nursing methods. And okay, in 2024, they had, I said 2024, 2023, we just got all the stats in for that. They had 2 of the 4 fatalities in our district. The 2 ATVs, 1 impaired and 1 asleep at the wheel. They laid 117 charges. Impaired is down 12%. They issued 89 warnings in 2024, and violent offenses are down 18 to 26%. Violent crime is down 18%. Property crime is down 26%. And fraud is on the rise. And every time you pick up your phone or turn on your computer, you know it. So, but they also have Sergeant Dennis is fraud prevention. And she is willing to do presentations in the community. All we have to do is get a hold of her and ask her to come out. That might be something we can do with the rec committee.
Yeah.
She can do a presentation, especially for seniors and stuff like that. So that's another advantage that we got there. So anyway, we'll get a transition plan to get that. Okay, and the Ontario government in 24, in our group currently, they signed a mental health transition plan to get officers back on the road sooner rather than being at the hospital all the time. They can interact with the hospital a lot quicker. They get through quicker. Those officers can get back on the road a lot faster. I asked them about solid lane passing, because you look at the fatalities on our highway, especially in the 2-lane highways. And they said, no, nothing from Queen's Park yet. We're the only province in Canada that it's legal to pass on a solid line. We're the province in Canada that's got carnage on our highways. Well, you work for it, you know.
And the biggest population.
And the biggest.
And our province is the biggest.
Yeah.
population.
So anyway, our membership fee for the Ontario Association of Police Services Boards now is, we worked it out to $1,166.80. Calendar is taking, we put sort of a budget together at $11,000 for the year, with Calendar taking 44% of it, was and taking 37%, and us taking 19%. Councillor Carr and I discussed this. She agreed. So, insurance, we thank you for your efforts. We all thank you for your efforts. We're gonna go with, I think our insurance came in at $26.81 for our liability insurance.
So quite low from the other quotes I was hearing from other groups, so that's pretty good.
Mhm. Also, on the last thing, Inspector McMullen suggested that we go to, because we're starting all these boards up again, that we go to once we're members of the association, go to the conference on June 5th in London. And they're paying for that, and they suggested myself and Councillor Carr go to that on the retirees. So anyway.
Very good. Thank you very much, Councillor. And everybody got a copy of these things? On paper, really well done. Everybody's read it. Oh, that's all. Yeah. So I need a mover. Councillor. That the minutes of our regular council meeting held January 21st, 2025 be adopted and published. All in favor?
There's only a couple of things to sign tonight. so
Okay,
we'll
get
do
them all done.
right away.
Yeah. And 5, I need a mover. Cool. That we authorize the purchase and installation of a hot water system for fire department station number 2 in the amount of $2,480.46 to Hartfell Heating. Discussions?
This was a project that was started in 2024 and needs to be finished in 2025. And because we haven't set our budget yet, that's why we're bringing this small amount to council for approval, because it's pre-budget, but we need to finish the project.
All in favor?
For the volunteer appreciation, we need to have the discussion before we do the resolution, because we need the information. So there was the report that was circulated to council with all of the information from previous years. And what we had asked in the resolution.
No, that's good.
We had asked for a council appointee for planning purposes, and I had circulated that to council, and Councillor Foot has put her name forward to be our
I
representative.
would love that.
Okay. And we just need, when will the event take place? We need a date. That's it. Now, in previous years, we've held it usually in October. What we try and do is run it in 2025. 2026 is an election year, so we try to go before that.
What do we have going on October for rec?
Just tell them.
That's it.
Thanksgiving falls in the middle. On the 13th.
We want to stay outside hunting.
And this is when it gets challenging.
Okay.
So it doesn't have to be in October,
Team dance on the 24th.
So we're ready for
and that's Friday, so we're good there.
And Saturday, I actually have the hall booked for ASV testing.
On the
Sorry.
25th,
Yes,
okay,
sorry.
Okay, how about the 4th,
November 4th or October?
October?
Does that work?
so Saturday, October the 4th. What would you like to have? We've had dinners, we've had luncheons.
It could be interesting to try and see if we can find somebody local that might do a dinner and cater it.
I love that idea.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, we have quite a few local caterers that might do a really good job. I was thinking Crafty Day.
Yeah, I was just gonna say right at Sunset Cove. there's
Right at
a
Sunset
great-
Cove. It might be, like, we'd have to reach out to them and see what they think, but
And get a like.
put it out and ask
Yeah.
pricing,
We
right?
would put out a public.
And ask people, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
I think if we can keep it local and have somebody cater it, and with it being in October, a really nice fall theme,
A catered sit-down dinner.
a really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
What time?
Pardon?
What time?
what time would you like?
6 o'clock.
Can
Yeah.
Sorry, just from our previous couple events we've had, from 4 to 5 seems to be the big portion of people coming in to get meals. And then 5 to 5:30 is the next block, when we did our roast beef dinner, and
Mm-hmm.
so
But this isn't gonna be a public event, this is gonna be
Nope,
an
I know.
invitation only, so
just,
around that time.
Yeah.
So what do we do, 5 PM? Or it either have to be 5 or 6, because we gotta think about people coming home from work.
Mm-hmm.
So
6.
even 6 would probably be better.
Yeah, because it's an evening out also, don't forget.
So if you say 5:30, everybody gets here, they can socialize for a bit. And go for that, and then dinner at 6. Okay. Well, that goes up there. And then we just need to discuss a budget. So I had provided previous numbers. Now, numbers have changed over the years considerably, so we have to take that into account.
So we have to know how many people exactly are going to attend.
It would be less than the 130,
Yeah.
because many are paired throughout our committees and our fire department and things like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
So I was looking at it, we're talking volunteers recommended by council members for ongoing supportive events. So that's 10. So those, is that including like all of our coaches that helped us through the summer? Like, there's
So
some.
we
really
never had
regulars.
soccer when we did this before.
Yeah,
So you're talking, so
that's, we need to.
our
kind of
limit
see.
in here
Yeah.
with tables is 130, so we have to keep that in mind as well. So what you can do is the dinner can be for members of committee and fire, and then you can still buy gifts for those other, that's just one option.
Yeah.
Lots of different ways you can do this.
Well, how many coaches have we had?
We had some people that came out on a regular basis that help us at every event. Like, we really need to recognize those, and
Well, those are the volunteers, I think, that we're basically talking about here.
I just think there's more than 10.
But I just
Yeah.
put that number in to try and fit it into what we were talking about. So if there's more, I know that the museum, for example, has a set number of volunteers that come out for almost every event. They're not on the board, they're just friends of the museum that they always recognize.
and that, I think those are the key people, right? Because if we don't recognize them, we lose them.
Right, I got like 2 that come out once a month or more to help do bottle drive at my end.
Yeah.
All the time,
They're on-
yeah, they're on the page, but
So, and that's where we're gonna have the overlap, so that 130 might work. But
Yeah, I think, because I mean, we talk about it, some of the fire department are gonna fit in both sections, right? Some don't have significant others.
and some have significant others that are on committees and they're helping, so it's. Yeah, there's a lot there.
I think we need to work on this.
Historically,
Oh, yes, the list that comes next. I'm just looking at budget so we can start the process, because we're working in the budget is our next big push.
historically, how many people have we come up with these? 100?
Maybe 85
Yeah.
would be our top number,
Okay,
So I think we're safe to,
but with that said, when we're looking at those 85 numbers, that was before you were running a lot of rec programs, and everything has expanded since then.
yeah, I know, but 85 to 130, so, you know,
It's a fair number because we have,
an extra 50 people. Or 45.
but we didn't have even a recreation committee back then, really.
Yeah,
Like when we did the 125th, and we had Andy McCollum.
Yeah.
That was a nice dinner.
so we did select dinner, right?
Mhm.
I'm just going through this staff. Yeah, provide a budget.
So you won't be able to fit a budget like what we have historically.
No.
Not for what we're
well,
looking
and
at.
that's what I'm thinking, right? And I think, yeah, I
I
was
think-
looking at it going,
I think you gotta go reverse engineer it.
Yeah.
And get a price on what somebody wants to charge us for dinner. And get that price, and then you can go
Per head.
per head and then go for your, how many you're gonna got.
Yes.
and then what do we wanna do for a gift, right?
So my recommendation then to council for tonight is let's stroke off the approximate budget line on this resolution. We'll start with yourself as the representative. The event date of October 4th, that it will be a catered dinner at 6 p.m. We can start to gather information. and then bring forward a budget at the budget meeting.
Yeah.
I think that might be better, so
Yeah.
that we make sure that we get all of the recommendations in. Does that sound appropriate? Okay, so I'm just gonna stroke that line, and there's the resolution.
Okay. So we'll get all the numbers.
Yes,
Like,
we'll have all the
People that
recommendations.
are coming.
That's,
in.
I have a list started in my.
Okay. So I need a mover and a seconder. That the 2025 volunteer appreciation event will be planned using the following guidelines. Council appointee for planning purposes, Councillor Shelley Foote. The event will take place Saturday, October 4th, 2025. The event will include catered dinner at 6 p.m. All in favor? So I need a mover. Councillor Foote. Councillor Chilton. That we authorize the participation and submission of an application to the capital grant stream through the Ontario Trillium Fund for repairs to the foundation and an addition to the Nipissing Township Museum office building. All in favor? Everybody has their correspondence. Letter to the Ministry of Solicitor General, new appointments of the Associate Minister of Auto Theft and Bail Reform. It was good reading. And at least they're doing something about auto thefts.
Yeah,
It's,
and bail reform is important.
it is. North Bay Parry Sound District Health Unit Board Meeting minutes held December 4th, 2024. Powassan and District Union Public Library Board minutes dated December 16th, 2024 and January 20th, 2025. Thank you letter from the Powassan Lions Club for a donation. Minister of Natural Resources proposed regulations regarding permit and review powers under Conservation Authority.
So on that one.
Yep.
I reached out to Angela Mills, who is our source water liaison with the board, and so I asked her how that's going to impact us, because we're having a meeting tonight. Says, thank you for your email. I have forwarded your inquiry to my colleagues who work in planning and regulations. They will look into your inquiry and get back to you. So, she did that, and nobody got back to me. Yeah. I will bring forward at our, whatever meeting I get correspondence back from the force.
Okay.
So it is saying that the minister is taking the permitting role from the Conservation Authority.
Well, that's what it looks like to me. That's why I reached out. I wanted to know, because there's some changes coming down the pipe. Conservation authorities can't seem to keep staff anymore. If you remember at our last meeting, I listed off all the new people in their new positions. And I'm leery about calling anybody for questions because I don't know if they're still in that position or not anymore, because it's been 2 weeks.
And that's been ongoing for as long as I can remember, turning over staff. So,
You walk into the room and you don't recognize anybody when you have a quarterly meeting, so.
Ministry of Rural Affairs, Ontario Rural Economic Development Strategy. Letter from the Corporation of the Township of Hawkesbury, Municipal Accountability Act 2024, Municipal Code of Conduct regarding proposed changes.
And they didn't agree unanimously.
Yeah. Phenom expanding extended producers' responsibility, EPR, to the industrial, commercial, and institutional sector and request review of funding model of producers' responsibility for blue box transition funding. So this,
I strongly recommend
Yeah.
that council consider supporting this for Phenom. Our ICI sector, when we had impact do our review was 2%, but that gets deducted from our funding model when the province takes over our recycling program. And we then have to, as a municipality, supply a recycling program for that sector. So commercial, industrial, schools, daycares, churches, and all municipal facilities cannot take our recycling to our recycling at the landfills. We have to arrange to have it taken in a separate stream. So it would be in our best interest to support having it all go together and then finding a way to make it work.
I'll move that we support it.
Okay, so that'll come forward at the next meeting. I
Oh,
just,
okay. I
I
thought you
started
had
a
the
resolution
resolution.
for February 18th.
Okay,
If council was in support of moving that to that agenda for discussion.
Will they change the pricing to, because if it's going to the producer, will they just not put the costs on us?
No, that 2% comes to us. They take it out of our funding. And then we have to come up with a strategy. So I was talking to, Dan and I've sat in on many meetings with them and we've protested this along with all the other municipalities. Because we're already taxing all of those property owners. So now we have to find a way to make a program within that amount. And it's just not feasible. Why would we, as a small municipality, start a whole new collection stream for just a few and put that cost on them? It's not a feasible option.
and it's not just us, it's every small municipality in the
Well, imagine
province.
if they,
yeah,
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 and we have depot, and because we have depot, so if we had one bag of garbage going from here, recycling going from here, we could just throw it in the bin. But they want to make sure that they don't include it, so they've dinged our numbers.
Yeah.
So it's a complicated strategy for sure. We've been going to meetings for a couple of years all over. And we're not any further along, but we're the last ones to transition at the beginning of October 2025. And there's municipalities around us that have started the transition now and are having difficulties, so we're not as optimistic about our level of service once we get there, because we're at the northern part of that collection facility.
right.
And so we're concerned about how that's gonna work. So we're still trying to work through those issues before we get there.
Because we have, in the summertime, we have pickup twice a week on recycle bins. We don't have, they miss a pickup schedule.
yeah,
We're in big trouble.
you're done, yeah.
Yeah, what's our offload? Like, where are we gonna be able to retain that, our warehousing capability, if you will? To
Well,
put
when we
it
asked
there
them,
and,
they said just put it in your landfill.
Yeah, just put it in the landfill. Here, we're trying to save our
Save your
landfill.
So here we had a great news story on what we're doing. And they're saying that they want us to put all of the IC&I recycling into the landfill.
And it's not like we can get another sea container because it's not, it won't be to their spec.
Yeah.
So if for overflow,
Yeah,
like summertime, it's crazy
Yeah.
here for recycling.
well, no, I get it. I mean, we have a population that doubles for crying out loud.
Yeah.
So it has been a challenging and it's, you know, try to wrap your head around all this stuff is, it's mind numbing.
But if we're supporting Phenom, I think Phenom has a greater voice. And I'm
Yes.
hoping that
Oh,
they have something
absolutely.
at the conference where council members can sit in and actually get the information that we get at a staff level from those representatives, have them bring that to a council level.
Yeah.
Where you can hear what we're hearing and ask those questions that you want to ask, because there's no way we can bring all of the information back. It's just.
Well, just a thought here. Would it be possible? I'm assuming we're gonna have a fairly decent amount of people going to Phenom.
I'm hoping.
Are they gonna do a bear pit at Phenom?
No, they don't usually do.
No, wait, they
Did
did
they do one
last year,
summer?
didn't they?
Oh, which, sorry?
A bear pit?
Where they
They
have
did.
ministers.
They did a bear pit at Phenom and Sudbury.
Really? That's
Yeah, I
awesome.
was, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
they
was the
did,
first
yeah.
time they've done it.
Fantastic.
So I'm thinking this question should be. These questions, a package of questions should be put forth that we can ask.
Oh, I imagine they will be.
Well, I think by
no,
supporting,
Yeah.
Phenom's resolution that they've requested that we do support, I think that opens up.
That opens it up, and I'm also thinking of, you've got the minister sitting there. And it behooves us to stand one after the other and each ask a pertinent question. And every one of them should be the elephant in the room question. Because we all know that they will try and avoid that question. We all know, based on this, that there's more than one elephant in the room question that's not being asked here.
It all depends on the provincial election as well for the Bear Pit.
Yes.
This is where some of that stuff should be coming out now.
Well,
during the
yeah,
election.
it should be this month, not,
Should be throwing it at them now.
Well, that's why supporting Phenom now.
I guess.
So, yeah, so we'll move forward with that.
Okay, so we'll do a
Yeah.
motion next.
Perfect.
Okay,
Invitation to register for the municipal track session for council and staff at the Northeast Fire Education Conference.
The agenda was placed in there. I've registered. I know other municipal CAOs in the area have registered. And if anybody wants to register, it's at $125. Oh, $250.
And how
$225.
soon do you want to know by? Pretty,
Yeah, as soon as possible, if you let me know, I'll get you registered. It's a good day-long session. It's got asset management, mental health, shared services, all those things. This is our first time being included in this fashion,
This
correct?
is our first workshop for this. We're trying it out.
Yeah.
First time.
so, yeah, I would like to.
Anyone else?
Is this in North Bay?
Huntsville.
Oh, Huntsville? Okay, still close enough. Good. I'm glad for you.
I think-
It'll be a full day event.
Okay, so we have the three. Good. Get you registered.
March 28th.
We'll send out all the information to you. as well. Okay.
so I need to move her. But secondary, Councillor Chelopin.
Oh, no, that's.
That's why, okay. We accept the correspondence as presented, all in favor? Mover, and second.
Right, so it's-
That the statement of accounts dated January 18th, 23rd, 24th, and 28th, 2025 totaling $89,668.56 be approved. All in favor? Okay. Mover. That this part of our meeting will be closed to the public as authorized by section 239(2)(e) of the Municipal Act 2001 C25 for consideration of the following subject matter, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality. Council to receive an update on the ongoing legal matter.
And
And the time
it's 7:42. I do ask that John Paul Never stays for this session as well.
Okay. All in favor?